On your way to the Caribbean, your plane breaks down and you fall directly into a dangerous rainforest. In order to survive until the rescue team arrives, you need to go through a series of tests to make it out of there. Great vacation, huh? You know you can't survive without water for too long, so your first task is to find a source of drinkable water. Near your camping site, there are a few options. There is a small pond, a stream, and a juicy cactus. Which source of water do you think is the most reliable one? Most cacti are pretty toxic, and instead of quenching your thirst, they might give you a stomachache. The pond isn't a good option. There are all kinds of bacteria swarming in it, so that's a no-go. The stream is your safest source of water. It's the freshest. It's been 2 hours since you crashed. Survivalists know that your next move needs to be finding a shelter to spend the night. You look around and you map 3 different options. You see a tall tree with a branch you could rest for the night. There's a pretty dark and damp cave that looks kind of scary. There's a clearing in the forest where you could create a bed with fallen leaves. Which one do you choose? There are lots of natural shelters in the wild. You should avoid tall trees since they can be struck by lightning. A clearing won't protect you from possible predators and bad weather. That's why a cave is always a good option, especially if you're in a cold area. Caves tend to keep a constant temperature, so it's a good place to spend the night. Over 10 hours have gone by and your stomach starts growling. You go for a walk to find some food and come across plants that you think might be edible. You just need to understand what's the best way to determine whether or not they are safe to eat. What should you do then? You could smell the plant and evaluate its color. You could rub the plant on your skin and wait for a reaction. Or you could take a small nibble of the plant and wait for any weird effects. What's your 2 cents in this scenario? Just smelling a plant and looking at its color is not going to be enough to determine whether they're poisonous. Rubbing it on your skin might help you with that part, but you need to go a step further. The best way to test if a plant is edible or not is to take a small nibble and wait for any adverse effects. Of course, this option is already risky, but if your stomach is growling and you have nothing else to eat, I'd say go for it. At the end of your second day in the wild, you start to hear some noises in the woods. It sounds like there are some felines around. What is your best option to keep safe in this case? You could climb the tallest tree and wait until you don't hear anything else. You could stand your ground and start a fire. Or you could spend the night roaming around so they won't find you. If you decide to roam around at night, that might be it for you. Although most wildcats are not inherently dangerous, they do have a hunting instinct and might want to grab a bite of you. Making a fire in the wild tends to protect you from the jungle's biggest predators. The fire scares them away, at the same time that it lets them know that this area is taken. So there. You made it through your first 2 days in the jungle all in one piece. Congrats! But the next morning, walking in the woods, you run into that wildcat that you were hearing the previous night. It's a jaguar, and its offspring. It starts hissing and showing you its teeth. Uh-oh. What should you do now, Indiana Jones? Your first option is jumping up and down in the same place, trying to scare it away. Your second option is to stand your ground and get as big as you can, also making hissing sounds to scare off that mama jaguar. Your third option is throwing sticks and stones at it, hoping it's enough to keep it away while you slowly walk away. Jumping up and down might make that mama jaguar more agitated and attack you instantly. Remember, mothers accompanied by their offspring tend to be more protective and reactive. Throwing sticks and stones might have the same effect as those jumping jacks, which is a no-go. Your best option would definitely be standing your ground and getting as big as you can. Much like Chris McEndless in Into the Wild, you come by a river that you need to get across. You need to assess the safest way to cross it. You can take off your shoes, together with most things that weigh you down, and swim straight across it. Or you can build a makeshift raft from nearby materials, like trunks of trees. You can toss a stick to evaluate the speed and strength of the stream, and try looking for a narrow section to wade through. Here's what you should never do: swim across a fast-moving river in a straight line. You also should never attempt to cross it barefoot, as this cuts down the traction. Building a makeshift raft is probably not very doable in the wild, or it might take you days. Tossing a stick to check the current is an expert trick. It'll help you to evaluate if that river is safe to cross or not. Narrow and shallow areas are your go-to choice, if they're available. While hiking, you accidentally cut your hand on a sharp rock. There's no time to panic here. You need to act quick. What should you do? You should hurry to find the source of the bleeding and apply direct pressure to it. Or you should find a source of clean water, rinse it, and then cover it with a bandage. Or you should try searching for something to cover the cut, like leaves or something. The last option is totally out of the way. Don't cover it with anything without cleaning it first. You probably won't have the time to find a source of water while you're bleeding a bunch, which only leaves us one more option. You should find the source of the bleeding and apply pressure on it. You come across an animal's carcass in the wilderness. It appears to be fresh, but you're unsure of its origin. What should you consider before deciding to eat any part of it? Well, you should definitely look at the color of its fur or feathers and the lack of strong smell. You should watch out for the presence or absence of scavenger birds nearby. You should wait until you see another wild animal eating it. If there are scavenger birds hanging around like vultures, this means that the carcass is probably not safe for consumption. These birds have a pretty hyped-up sense of smell and are attracted to decaying flesh. But if they are avoiding the animal, then it might be an indication that it could be diseased or contaminated. In other words, your first option is your best option. It's been 3 days now, and you decide to signal for help. What took you so long? You have a few options here. You can yell and shout at regular intervals of time. You can blow your survival whistle in bursts of 3. You can wait until it's nighttime again and put out your fire so you can send signals with smoke. What's your best pick here? Well, let's face it, you shouldn't waste your precious life force to yell from minute to minute. You should preserve your energy and your voice. Blowing the whistle can come in handy if you hear human sounds in the forest, otherwise it's also a waste of energy. Your best pick is probably to send smoke signals to the sky. Hopefully, the rescue team comes to rescue you. If not, well, that animal carcass is looking better and better now, isn't it? Ew. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.